Hey, good morning, everyone. Good morning. It's
Morning.
Saturday morning. That means it's Saturday walk and talk, HealthPointe walk and talk. How's everybody doing this morning? Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
All all right. Hey, I was doing a little bit of a preamble with Billy, and I said, "Hey, Billy, guess where I'm at?" And he said, "I don't know where you're at." I said, "I'm in your state of Texas." So Emily and I are here. We'll actually be flying out of here in just after our walk and talk. But if I can, I'd like to start by going around the horn as we usually do. And Billy, since I already kind of queued you up, um, I'll go ahead and go to you and just say, how's your week going? How's Texas for you?
Texas, great. Always been great. Uh, it get a little warm, but I never seen nobody burn up, and it get cool, so everything's great. But the thing, what I got to say this morning is that I was just reading my book, and I was thinking about myself, and I was thinking about being on this call this morning. But I don't want to say that I'm thankful. I'm so grateful to be healthy and continue to be on the call, and not only be on the call, being and when I start something, I just don't like to quit till I reach my goal.
I love it. I love it. Well, I believe it with you, Billy. I mean, you are um, super consistent, super consistent, super accountable, and I just love that about you. And guys, I was teasing Billy. I said, "Hey, every time we're in Michigan, Emily and I, and we're giving a shout out to you in Texas, you're always talking about it being 80 degrees and all this kind of stuff." I said, "I'm out getting my walk right now, and I'm all
He's
bundled
walking
up.
today.
This is not looking like the Texas that I know, but we love it here."
Yeah.
Emily and I have been here since Tuesday and really enjoying it here in Texas, but we'll fly back to Michigan today. So thank you, Billy, for that. And we're going to go around the horn here. Again, if anybody wants to raise their hand, I'm going to kind of call on some people here, probably David, if you're available. David Dassow, we'll get some David Dassow quotes here. But if anybody knows that they want to speak because our group is growing, feel free to use the raise your hand feature, and that will kind of cue me up here to know to call on you. But otherwise, we're going to go to David, and then
Morning.
good morning, and then Eileen after David. Good morning, David.
And so it is brisk in Michigan, right at the freezing point, and but the sun is out, so all is well. And and Kathy Munoz is at a workshop today, so she will not be on today. The step queen.
Yes, sir. All right.
And so, you know what? I was pondering. Actually, I was listening to Steve Weber talking about muscle multiplier. I was re-listening to that portion of. Unusual for me, but my wife, who's lost 100 pounds and maintained it for over 10 years now, one of the things that she still does every day, and it's in the bathroom that I see, is she has her journal and she records her weight in the morning, how many steps she did during the day, and her weight before she goes to bed. And so I don't know and she has her journals going all the way back probably to when she was at her maximum weight and she started all of this. Is she sometimes, I've seen her go backwards to look things up with her own curiosity. But anyways, just Hank often talks to me, who is sanguine, people person here, about my need to to improve my documentation on certain things. And then having to do with that recording, just another one of the things that Hank shares. Good health is expensive, and so, but he says, spend as much money as you can afford on good health, because at my age, my investment in good health, I believe, is cheaper than illness and all the money I would have to pay for testing and whatever. And so muscle multiplier is something that we take, because as you mature, you want to keep your muscles. There's some weight loss programs where you end up becoming a skinny fat person because you've lost weight, but you lost all your muscle mass. You didn't lose fat. And so you want to maintain muscle mass, and muscle multiplier is something that helps you do that. And so Chris got to the point where she was ranging around 150. That was her swing point. And maybe about 9 months ago, she went from taking 1 scoop of muscle multiplier to 2. And she actually did it for some of the mental benefits of the product. But a side benefit was that she got down to her actual goal weight of 140. And so now she floats between 140 to like 143 as I look at her journal. And so she's over here looking at me like, you look at my journal? But, and then my one quote that I found that I really liked is, I think about this community and the community that Eric has created. And it says, success is good rituals and multiplied by associating with good people around you. And having the community, the good people around you is really like a multiplier. So muscle multiplier, and multiply your success by associating with good people. Adios.
Wow. I love it. I love it.
You know more about muscle multiplier than I do. So if you want to jump on that one, you can. But it's a great product.
It sure is, guys. And I will defer mostly to some content that I know that Carol would have in particular, and I believe I do as well, from Steve Bever. You mentioned Steve Bever, and he has done a deep dive on muscle multiplier, and we certainly have that content that we can get out. But essentially what it is, guys, I apologize for a barking dog here. I'll turn the other way. A muscle multiplier product is a essential amino acid. It's quite tasty. It's a powder. To me, it's quite tasty. It's kind of a wild berry flavor. And essentially what it amounts to, guys, is that we need protein. And of course, consuming protein is going to facilitate that. That goes without saying, of course. But then it's, how does your body synthesize that protein? Is it efficiently synthesizing it? And that, in a broad strokes, is what an essential amino acid does. A little background on our particular essential amino acid. It originated from a gentleman. Somebody's got some background noise there. Please mute. Got an individual that is very proficient in both ends of the spectrum in terms of his medical background. So he was a doctor working with pediatric burn victims. So this is children that have been burned. I mean, how horrific is that? But as it relates to muscle, when you're a burn victim. Dr. Wolf, that's correct. Yep, Harvard. He has a affiliation with Harvard. I'm not sure if he is a professor there or studied there, but something in the Harvard Medical School. And he's working with the end of the spectrum of the very young and largely immobile because they're burn victims. They are pretty much immobile as they recover. And what happens when you're immobile is it's difficult to go through the natural progression of muscle creation, right? Which is obviously very important, very essential to the healing process. And then on the other end of the spectrum, he worked with the geriatric realm of, so the elderly that have, like, maybe they've fallen, they've broken something, they've broken a hip. And again, trying to build that muscle up to help and facilitate the recovery. And so what he was very knowledgeable on is, branched chain amino acids and their ability to more efficiently synthesize the protein that you ingest. And so in a nutshell, that's what we have as far as a product that it was, kind of developed by him, and it's tasty. So you got that going for you too. So I love that as a multiplier, David. And then I love what you mentioned as far as the community, as far as a multiplier. I was listening recently to someone that said, a doctor that said, her number one factor in success of any adherence to any kind of a program, certainly a health program, number one factor was if they tapped into a community. So you are spot on, David, spot on the power of what we're doing right now, that steady cadence of tapping into a community of like-minded people. So thank you for that, David. Quotable quotes from David Dassow. And Eileen, if I think I queued you up next, if you want to unmute, if you care to chat. I know you guys often have and you guys were recently on a cruise. How'd it go?
Yeah. So the cruise went well. I was really afraid of it because that was the one trigger that had me start the weight gaining thing 8 years ago, was a cruise. And then we moved to Florida and did 2 more cruises and just got into the party lifestyle. Like, we weren't retired, but we felt like we were retired because we moved to Florida. And honestly, I just gained so much weight. So I was really afraid of this cruise, but my daughter and her family invited us. And I'm like, well, we're going to go. But I was determined not to do what I've always done. And let's see. The buffet was wonderful because you could pick good food. Breakfast was good. We went off ship 2 days. It was a short cruise. And I would say if you do a cruise, make sure you have food with you, because we couldn't get good food off ship. The excursion provided food, and the salad was small. It had a lot of oil. It was just disappointing. And they had a bar, but it was still not good. And the next day we went on another island thing, and you got one chicken drumstick that was, with all sauce on it, fried fish, which I didn't take, and neither did Bruce. And then California vegetables, which you could only get a little. I was like hungry, like, where's the food? And dinner again, we did our best, but I didn't go off. I wasn't going to get stuff that I couldn't eat or didn't want to eat. I was hungry. I'm like, we tried to go to the buffet before dinner because the kids all wanted to go to a nice sit down dinner, and like, give us some food, give us some vegetables, some salad. Like, I want real food, not all this other stuff. Like appetizers with tons of calories and risotto and blah, blah, blah. So yeah, it was a challenge. But I had, as of yesterday, it looked like I was down 0.4 after a cruise, which, that's crazy.
That's awesome.
But this morning I'm up a little, but we're starting the next round. So we have 3 protein days. I'm not worried about it. But it just showed me how much real food we eat on this program. And I just am looking forward to eating real food again, like without all the hassle of trying to find it. Yeah, it was good. I mean, we had a great cruise, but the food was a challenge, I thought.
Well, I tell you, so many lessons there. And, you know, so one thing is that, as I say, holding the line is often a victory. Okay. Um, so if I understand things correctly, because you guys are down, you're down how much and Bruce is down how much?
I think I just checked it this morning because we're starting 33. I'm down 33. And we have earbuds on. For some reason, our phone doesn't pick up this. I've got to work on that. So Bruce, if he doesn't even hear this, he's just standing
Okay.
here. He can't talk unless I give him the earbuds. And then only one of us. I don't know why it does this, but yeah, I'm down 33. What are you down, bro?
Um,
I mean, his belly is down a lot,
Well,
which
I
is
know last time
awesome.
we talked,
He's fine.
he was like down 2 belt loop sizes or something like that. It was really remarkable.
Yeah, he's looking for it. But I think for me, if we could have done the buffet every day, we could pick a beautiful salad. They had really crunchy lettuce and tons of veggies, and you could get your protein. Totally doable. Um, yeah. Anyway, it
Yeah.
was good. It was a really good experience for me, and I love this program. I love the community. I love the support. I love that we eat real food. And if I go to a gathering, I bring my food. I don't care. There's people who are gluten free, they're vegan, they're this, they're that. They bring their food. I'll bring my food. I don't care.
Amen. Amen to that. I tell you what, be bold as you're saying, and that's what you're saying is be bold. And you never know, you might influence somebody else too, because there's a lot of people out there that are looking, and sometimes a little bit of boldness, just a little bit of a statement of, you know, what you're doing and why, and you might have somebody latch on to you and want some more information. Um, and again, I just want to applaud and point out that holding the line, especially in the environment and the circumstances that you guys are in, you're on a cruise. And if there's one thing that people think of when they think of a cruise, what do they think of? Food,
Oh,
food, food, right? Just
yeah.
food, drink, and I think, I mean, it's been a long time since I've been on a cruise, but I think it almost appeared like the sole reason 99% of the people were on that cruise were for the food, right? We've
Yeah.
all
Yeah.
it's like and I get it. Okay, that's a deal. So my point is I mean, you guys really jumped into the deep end of the pool when you're talking going to a on a cruise, which was sounds awesome with your daughter, and you held the line. And there's a picture sometimes I send over to people, you know, if they're check in, they had a situation like you had, Eileen and Bruce. And I don't know who can relate to this. I guess anybody that's seen the movie, it's called The Patriot, I think, and it has Mel Gibson in it.
Yep.
And there's a scene where, you know, of course, they're fighting the British. It's during the American Revolution. And Mel Gibson's troops are retreating, and he grabs the American flag and he flags it up in the air, and he turns around and he says, hold the line. And he rallied the troops, and they all came back. They stopped their retreat. They stopped turning their back. They came back and they held the line. They didn't advance, right? That's the point. They didn't advance, but they held the line. And that is a huge victory. There's times when we just focus on the victory of holding the line. And then when the headwinds diminish, in this case, when you're back at home, like you're saying, where you can easily get real food without all the trouble of trying to find a drumstick that doesn't have all this crazy sauce on it, right?
Yeah.
And now those headwinds, those resistances are gone. You held the line as best you could during that environment, and then you're back where you're in more control of things. And now you can advance. Now you can gain some ground. Now you can move forward. So I just think that's an incredibly powerful lesson, because look, most people on HealthPointe, when they're in their active phase of weight loss, diabetes reversal, pre-diabetes, this is usually not a 2 or 3 day thing, right? This is months and months, sometimes years. I know, David, with Chris, this was years. And to think that you're going to go through a journey of months or years and not have scenarios like a cruise or, hey, we got the holidays coming up. Sometimes the focus needs to be just hold that line as best you can, hold that line. And so I think that was very powerful. Thank you very much, both of you, Bruce.
Thank you.
And
can I share one thing really quick?
yes, for sure.
Before I started this program, it hurt to walk because of my knees, and I joined this for health reasons. But on the cruise ship, I was so happy to walk. Like, I didn't care if our room was far. And one day I actually walked around at night inside because Bruce didn't want to, but I wanted to hit 20,000 steps because I was at 18. I'm like, hey, I'll go for 20. And I just walked around the inside and hit 20. I'm like, I love now that I want to be active. It makes me so happy.
I love it. Oh, that's so great. Thank you for adding that, because as Carol so beautifully and consistently reminds all of us that what we're doing here is not giving stuff up, we're gaining lifestyle, right? And so your desire and your willingness and now ability to walk pain-free and have that increase in lifestyle is certainly, you're not giving up anything, you're gaining. And
that's how I feel. Yes.
Yep. That's awesome. That's a great
congratulations. That is a great story. Super happy for you folks, and just continue sticking in with the community so that you have that support to keep you going.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
We will.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. All right. Well, speaking of Carol, I believe that she is enjoying and learning with Hank on a beautiful trip to Vegas. So I don't think that she'll be on here to give her commentary, but we all look forward to learning more from the two of them when they get back. And I'm going to go, Larry, I see that you're on here, and we always love to hear from Larry. And then after Larry, if Marilyn would like to chat, and maybe Phillaire. I see Corey on here, but we'll start with Larry. Good morning, Larry.
Hey, good morning, everybody. It's good to be back with you this morning. This is your last week, but we get into this habit, and it's a good habit to get together with our community here. And when you miss, you feel like, man, I got to get back to the group and find out what's going on, So, but I guess the thing that I want to talk about, and everybody's kind of mentioning it kind of a way, is that the book that we were reading in the detox about choose your story and change your life. I was thinking that's what we're all doing. We're creating stories, and I'll tell you this, that I am using your stories too, along with people that I'm contacting and helping, is that, when we're on this call, I get a lot of different stories. And then as we're hearing other people's stories, we're changing our stories about how we feel about ourselves. And if we have, I think when I was reading that book, it was saying sometimes we have a tendency to stick with the bad stories. And sometimes we need to, as we're changing and as things are happening, just like we're doing right now, we need to change our stories, because some of those old stories are still going through our heads. And sometimes that hinders us, because as soon as we think we're making progress, then we have that old story roll back through our heads, oh, I'm not doing this, I'm not doing that. And we need to create positive stories. We need to create stories, real stories out of things that are happening, and think about the good things that are happening for us. And, you know, that book is kind of powerful because we're changing those stories. If we had stories saying that I'm too heavy, I'm too fat, I'm not this, I'm not that, and those stories have been going on in our heads for years, they're like automatically pop into our heads whether we want them to or not. And as we change our stories and start telling ourselves, hey, I'm healthy, I'm eating right, I'm doing the things that I need to do to be healthy. You know, I think that those and our story too helps us change the way, as we're developing a good relationship with food, then we change. I hear stories of people who are on here right now, and as they tell us about things that they're doing, they're changing their story. And we're all changing our stories. And I think that that's a very powerful thing for us to do so that we can stay in that mode. And then we are supporting our own selves mentally in that mental detox kind of situation. So, you know, I don't know whether anybody had already talked about that, but I was just thinking that's just a good thing for us to change our stories and change the way that we feel about ourselves and start saying positive things about ourselves and believe those stories rather than the bad ones. So I don't know whether that's on track with what we're doing, Eric, but hey, thanks for giving me a minute to talk to everybody, okay?
Hey, it sure is, Larry. You're always on track. That's why we just love to hear from you. And so that book is one that Carol recommends strongly. And it's called Change Your Story, Change Your Life. And there's just some real practical tips and tricks on how you do that. You know, Carol will reference in your, in your talk track, in your mental talk track, think of it like a sentence. We sometimes have an old, outdated talk track, this sentence that ends in a period, right? I am this, or this is who I am, blah, 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 fill in the blank. And it simply says, replace that period with a comma, right? What a powerful concept. Replace that period with a comma, because when you have a sentence with a comma, that means there's a transition and there's a new element to that sentence, right? And I just love that practical technique. So thanks for bringing that up. I also would say that in our lifetime maintenance, we talked about it quite a bit last week on the concept of lifetime maintenance and how important it is. And we talk about the duration of it in the HealthPointe program. In the guidebook, it talks about 3 to 9 months to kind of solidify into lifetime maintenance. And I believe that that's a part of that, is that consistent accountability, consistent action, and holding the line at your new lifestyle, your new healthy state, so that it gives time for some of those mental, psychological kind of metamorphosis, turning from a caterpillar into a butterfly. I mean, pick your metaphor, but it can take some time before you see yourself as this new person. So I think that is all very, very powerful and very much ties into HealthPointe here. So thank you again, Larry. We're going to go around. We've got a number, we call you guys newbies affectionately. We love hearing from newbies. And so I'm going to go, and I want to hear also if she's available. Again, we're with our in-laws in Texas, but my wife, Emily, and I have a pretty, I think, helpful, valuable commentary to make note of, and whether she wants to tee it up or I can tee it up and comment on it will be determined by her ability, but we'll circle back around to me and her later. But in the meantime, if we can hear from, Marilyn, if you care to unmute, and then Julie, and then Phillaire. And again, that depends on, there's no requirement to chat at all. And so I will wait to see if Marilyn unmutes here. If she doesn't, that's fine. We all know she's probably walking crazy crackers, her German short here. I know Marilyn just got back from a trip, a bit of a road trip. So we will hold on Marilyn and move on to Julie. If Julie would care to oh, nope, now you're muted, Julie. There you go. All right, good morning, Julie. Happy Saturday. I think now you're muted. Not sure if there you go. I think, no, you're not. Apologize, guys. I'm looking at a screen here. All right, well, Julie, not sure if you want to chat or not.
Am I unmuted now?
You are. There you are, Julie. Good morning,
okay.
Julie.
Okay. Just real quick. I love what I'm hearing this morning and talk about cruises or holidays coming up. I am feeling some anxiety about this, and I've got to learn how to hold the line. And the other thing I have learned watching my grandkids last weekend, I have had my journal with me every day, but watching the grandkids, it was with me, but I didn't have it out. And I'm telling you, it is amazing how hard it is to go back and rewrite. Maybe it's just me and my age, I don't know, but I had a hard time struggling with get that journal out and keep it with you and write down. And I sure see the value in it because I do much better when I have that right with me to write down. Anyway, I don't know if anybody has any thoughts or tips on that along with the holidays, but I'm open to hearing any tips that people have found that work. Thanks, Eric.
Yeah, you bet. Thank you, Julie. Again, sometimes when someone, like yourself, particularly new, it's so fun and refreshing and valuable to have those kind of new person experiences. On the one hand, we started this program this morning hearing from David Dassow and by proxy, his wife, Chris, and talking about how she still to this date, maybe 10 years, still journals. And why? Because she's got nothing else to do, because she just, no, I think because she finds value in it. The old adage, go.
Chris is laughing right now.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Because Chris, we know you just have nothing else to do, right? No, that's because we know the concept, the principle of what gets measured improves. And it's a really powerful concept. Does that mean like just the sheer act of writing something down, whatever kind of habit change, whatever kind of lifestyle, whatever kind of item that you're trying to accomplish? You mean to say if you just write it down, measure it, in this case, we're journaling our steps, we're journaling our water, we're journaling all the elements that are in the guidebook, that alone will improve, because that's the principle. What gets measured improves. Yeah. It just has something to do with focus. But to your point, Julie, it is one of those things. Candidly, I don't know if everybody else would agree with this, but candidly, it's one of the struggle points. I think there's a lot of other things that are somewhat, I don't want to say easy, but doesn't take too much effort or focus. Sometimes maybe this is a bit of a personality thing. We know about the 4 different personalities: sanguine, choleric, melancholy, and phlegmatic. And maybe if somebody has maybe a more dominance of melancholy, they may have a little bit more hardwiring in their disposition to enjoy that writing down, whereas somebody that is not melancholy will not enjoy that necessarily. And so there's different ways to do it, but Julie, I think just you recognize it, and recognizing it is sometimes a good part of the path to a solution. I know you were traveling recently, and that's what you're kind of referencing. And sometimes just knowing that the next time when you travel, or it's kind of a disruptive schedule, you just kind of have a little bit more resolve, a little bit more pre-planning to have that journal out and ready and so forth. And I think that alone will guide your decisions and your outcomes. But sure appreciate you bringing it up, because we love those fresh, kind of newer person perspectives. It keeps it real for those of us that have done HealthPointe weight loss mode years ago and are in lifetime maintenance. So thank you again. And we are going to go next to Phillaire. If you're interested and available to speak, go ahead. If you're not interested or available, that's fine too. We'll give you a moment. There you go.
Morning, all. How's everybody doing?
Good morning.
Wonderful. Morning. So just two things this morning. I'm going to segue briefly to a different topic. I just wanted to say happy Veterans Day to all the vets that we may have, and we thank them for their service and their dedication and loyalty to the country for sure. So,
amen. Thank you. Thank you for acknowledging that. Thank you.
Well, and just a little history lesson, just a fun tidbit of trivia. My husband was born in Canada, and in Canada, it's not Veterans Day, it's Remembrance Day, because it's the day they want to remember their vets, remember the service that they gave. And I thought that was really appropriate, because I think in the States, we sort of forget to remember, if that makes sense. So I just thought that was appropriate. Thought I'd just pass that off as a little tidbit for you, so it can be Veterans Day or Remembrance Day, whichever you prefer to use. So
I love it, Phillaire, and I appreciate you bringing that up. And I'll share something. So yesterday evening, I walked to a local coffee shop here in Texas. Again, Emily and I are visiting in-laws in Texas, and so beautiful coffee shop, and it had some local, more flyers than a newspaper, but I thought, I'll just kind of read about some Texas stuff in there. And there was a couple of items in there about Veterans Day, and something that I never knew, and I'll share it because you talk about remembering, Phillaire, and bringing it up. What I learned yesterday will help me remember. And that is that Veterans Day, if I remember my details correctly, it's on the 11th day of the 11th month. And it started, I believe, maybe I'm wrong on this part, on 1911. It was a part of the armistice for World War I. But my point is that forevermore, I will always remember that Veterans Day is the 11th day of the 11th month. And so appreciate you bringing that up. And we can so easily, I think, slip in our remembrance of our veterans. And I know I'm not a veteran, but I know we have veterans in this HealthPointe program left and right, and we just thank them and applaud them and appreciate them. So thank you for that, Phillaire.
You're welcome.
And okay, we are coming around the horn on some wrap up time. And then actually Emily and I will be grabbing a flight here and heading back to Michigan. We've enjoyed our time in Texas. Emily, I don't know if you want to speak or if you're able to speak. I think you're inside the house there. But if you want to share anything as it relates to kind of queuing up a recent experience that Emily and I had as it relates to being your own best advocate for health. And we'll give Emily a moment here to see if she wants to say anything. And
Good morning, everyone. Happy
Good morning.
Saturday. Yeah, I just want to comment on two things. The first thing is about journaling. And I'm hearing Julie mention about that, and I'm with you, Julie. It is such a difficult habit to form. So, like anything else, journaling is another habit that we have to develop. And certain habits come easier than the other. And for me also, journaling the food. I journal a little bit every morning and a little bit at night, but just write down the food. Something about that, I don't know. It's just so hard to stick with. So I'm in the journey building a little more muscle, focus on skeleton muscle. So I want to track my macronutrient, which is muscle, fat, and carbs. So I still hit and miss. So I determined, just instead of journaling in detail of my food consumption, my macro consumption, so maybe I'll just journal, focus on protein, and maybe I journal my lunch. So that may be very baby step for me. So I'm on the journey of building that habit. And again, I'm with Julie. It doesn't come easier for me. So I want to share that with you guys.
Thank you, Emily.
Yeah, so maybe for me, just maybe write out one thing I eat, one protein consumption during a day. So I start with that. And again, I'll be able to do that, but I'm not able to journal my whole food consumption daily. So the second thing I would like to come in on Larry is writing our story again and again, and tell ourselves different story if we want to change. And that is so powerful. And we are such a habit creature. That's what Eric's always say, which is a habit creature. It's so hard to rewrite our story, but again, that's a habit that we have to, if we want to, this is a habit that we have to deliberately mindful about. So I have so many stories in my life, and I keep going back again and again and again. Like the other day, I talked to Eric. I said, I wish when I first came to this country, I wish somebody gave me the book called Grit. It's all about mindset. And I said, if somebody gave me that book, because I gave that book to my nieces and nephews and very early on, and I said, somebody should give me that book. That is, my life story will be different now. And then Eric told me, say, you can, now you read the book and you can soon start your story. You can do whatever you want now because you have the mindset. So, right. And thanks so much for Larry also bring that up. It just hit home for me too.
Right.
Thank you. That's why I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you, Emily. And there's so many things I could say there, right? Because Emily's my wife, and I just love her very much, and I just she's such a powerful, quiet, powerful woman, and so I'll just say we just all gain so much from her. And so, but that principle of changing your stories. And I guess speaking of story, Emily, kind of referenced lightly about the her background. Let me share briefly, and then I'll kind of hit on a topic here that we wanted to cover and kind of wrap it up here this morning. Of course, we'll leave time at the end if anybody has anything that they want to comment on. We want to give you an opportunity. Again, with a growing group here, best way to do that is to hit the little hand raiser thing and raise your hand so that I know to call on you, but I'll try to give an opportunity here. But real quickly, you know, Phillaire, you mentioned about Veterans Day and kind of playing in on that. What's got us down here in Texas? Well, Emily's, one of Emily's sister, my sister-in-law and brother-in-law live here in North Texas, and we enjoy coming here and visiting them. But specifically, what drew us down here is Emily's aunt, my aunt, Aunt Kim, was able to, with much effort and arduous years of help from Emily and the family, finally get visa paperwork to be able to come to America from Vietnam. And so we greeted her at the Dallas-Fort Worth International Airport with full regalia of American flags and happy balloons and red, white, and blue and all kinds of stuff. And, you know, it's interesting, and I guess it's appropriate to talk about, since it's, you know, we're at Veterans Day and then that experience, to talk about, you know, the fact that, you know, so many of our freedoms that as a born and raised in America guy that I am, as opposed to Emily, who came over in her teens with her 4 sisters and mom, or opposed to Aunt Kim, who came over 2 days ago. It is, I don't know, I use the word chilling. If you've never heard the stories of what it's like in communist countries, and Emily and I visited Vietnam in 2018. In fact, that was when I first met Aunt Kim, because she kind of shepherded us around. And we don't have time, and this maybe isn't the forum to go into all the elements of what it is to be in a free society. But I'll just say that I appreciate having family through Emily's family of first-generation immigrants, and maybe many of you know other first-generation immigrants that have firsthand, fresh experience of living in a society where you don't have some of the basic freedoms that we grow so used to. I would say that, you know, some of the things that we've even said on this episode here might be, you know, you might be a little tentative about saying that in a country like Vietnam. We certainly experienced that when we were there in 2018. One time I asked a tour guide something about a simple economic question, a commentary on a portion of inner Saigon and the opulence that I saw there versus the area immediately outside of Saigon, which is now called Ho Chi Minh City. And his response was, again, my question was an economic question, it's a throwaway comment, something that in America we wouldn't think twice about. And his response, which was very confusing to me, was, "We love Ho Chi Minh." And this was a very intelligent tour guide, young man in his 30s, very energetic and very intelligent. And I thought, well, that's strange. Maybe he didn't understand my question. So I asked it again, and his response was the same: "We love Ho Chi Minh." So I was a little bit frustrated and confused. Long story short, later we learned, because he pulled us aside when he knew that no monitors could be watching him, he explained that he couldn't answer my question in that setting because there very likely were monitors, communist officials on that tour bus that were monitoring what he said. and the conversations on there because it happened to a colleague of his. She innocently answered a question that was asked by a French tourist, and next thing she lost her position, basically almost lost her life. I mean, not that she was going to be put to death over it, but all her economic ability, her ability to earn income was stripped from her. And so I understood that and appreciated the fact that this gentleman did not risk his future because of some, benign question that some American dude like me was asking him. So anyhow, HealthPointe is what we're here to talk about mostly, right? But it does, I think, play some relevancy to, being able to function in a free society. And I know I appreciate the fresh reminders that I get through Emily's Vietnamese origins and Vietnamese family that, and especially Aunt Kim, gosh, some of the stories that she was telling us, they're kind of funny, actually. Some of them are harrowing, talking about boat people. If you guys are familiar with boat people, but she had this one about how she went about getting her birth certificate from an official by basically just, she dressed up like an American. I don't have time to get into that, but because they thought that she was from America, they treated her totally different than if she thought she was from Vietnam. It was kind of a funny story, which had to be translated to me. But guys, here's what I wanted to wrap up on is in HealthPointe, you're taking control, you're learning about your own health. You're taking control of elements of your health. You're learning about blood sugar. You're learning about your health and optimizing it. Maybe that's for weight loss. Maybe that's for diabetes, pre-diabetes. Maybe that's for just overall optimizing your health. And something that happened recently, irony of all ironies, Emily did get a basic kind of an annual checkup. And it was with a DO, and it was for some women's health, annual checkups. But in that process, she asked for a blood panel. And Emily, you can correct me on any of these details if I'm wrong on this. I'll just kind of hit the highlights to make the point that I want to make here, which is, guys, to be your best advocate, to learn and gain knowledge so you can be your own health advocate, ideally alongside your doctor. I'm not at all diminishing the wonderful doctors, whether they're a DO or an MD or a specialist. Absolutely not. But guys, you've got to be your own advocate. So here's the story. She gets her blood panel. And the DO explains, that she can't go through this with her, that Emily would have to get that interpretation through her primary physician, but Emily was in a transition. Her other primary physician was not, I think she had retired or something. So she was kind of in transition. And the next available time slot that she could get in with this other primary physician was in May. So let's call it 7 months from now. So the results come back from this lab for a blood test. Now, guys, we're talking about most people, they go in at least once a year and get a lipid panel and their blood test for cholesterol and triglycerides and this and that. She gets this, she shows it to me, and I'm incredulous. It says that she has an A1C of, was it 6.3, Emily? I think it was 6.3, and she's muted, so it was 6.3. And that she was, pre-diabetic. I know that's probably hitting everybody the way it hit me. I thought, well, this is interesting. And Emily, her wonderful disposition, she's like, hey, no worries, it is what it is, and, strange. But, and I'm like, wait. No. look, something is wrong here. I said, there's no way. Now, guys, we're not just like going into denial here. Here's what I'm saying. Emily regularly, for long stretches, will poke her finger and check blood glucose in the morning, like many of us do. She'll always also, and this is the primary thing that she's looking into, is ketones. Check her ketones. And she's routinely at moderate or sometimes high level of ketones. And her blood sugar is almost always in the 80s or 90s, sometimes lower than that. So this was not some, hey, get a report from a doctor, go into denial. This is like, we've got the facts. What is going on here? And so fortunately, and I would advocate for this, we basically had our finger on the trigger of ordering up some labs through some of the wonderful platforms that are out there now that can give you way more information on your blood work than your typical annual exams. I would reference either Inside Tracker, which is one program, or the program that we actually went with is through Dr. Mark Hyman, and it's called Function Health. And the reason we chose that is because I've done a lot of study under Dr. Hyman programs, and he set up the integrative medicine program at Cleveland Clinic. I mean, the guy is the OG of functional health. I mean, the original gangster of functional health. The guy is super notable and good morning, and very, very, very great. So I thought, hey, if anybody's, designing a platform to take these blood results that come through and then get reports and actions, I can't think of anybody better than Dr. Mark Hyman. So anyhow, we pulled the trigger on that. We went in, got our blood draws, actually do 2 blood draws. We did back-to-back days. I felt like a prune afterwards, sucked all that blood out of me, right? But vial after vial after vial. And we just got the results back. They're still loading into our dashboard. It's a progressive thing. But guys, Emily's numbers are phenomenal. Her numbers are not A1C 6.3. In fact, something that we talk about here that is, according to people like Dr. Casey Means and Dr. Mark Hyman, and just anybody that is in this realm, they will tell you that the most important number, the precursor to a blood sugar number or a high A1C number, is your insulin resistance. Are your cells resisting the insulin that is being pumped out by your pancreas? And to be in the healthy range is to be below 10. To be in a phenomenal range is to be between 2 and 6. Emily's is like 2.4 or something like that. She's in the 2s. So this report, we still don't know, and apparently won't know for 7 months until she can get into a primary care physician what went wrong. Did they switch blood? Did they have a mix up in the instrument? But can you imagine if we did not know the basics of HealthPointe, if we didn't know the basics of blood sugar, if we didn't know the basic information? We don't have to be PhDs in this. We just need to know the basics enough so that when we get a test result that is at a minimal, a very curious result, we have enough understanding to take steps to get, in this case, the all-important second opinion, right? We often hear about that. Somebody gets a diagnosis, this, that, or the other thing. Hey, maybe it's a good idea to get a second opinion. It's always just good general practice. And in this case, it was a great thing to do. And also because we knew about insulin, we knew about insulin resistance, we knew about A1Cs, we knew about blood sugar. Now, guys, if it would have come back and it would have confirmed that Emily, despite having low blood sugar when she pokes her fingers, despite having high ketones when she pokes her fingers, despite being just a healthy, fit human being, if somehow that A1C number was confirmed as being 6.3 and the report said you are pre-diabetic, and they were prescribing product for her, they had prescriptions in there and everything. But if it would have come back and confirmed that, now, of numbers like that is type 1 diabetes. And I said, I'm with you every day. I don't see where you are having to, like, again, guys, if anybody is type 1 diabetic before they're diagnosed and kind of dialed in with some solution, they are going to have symptoms. Sorry about the dog, guys. They're going to have symptoms of being extremely thirsty, followed by extreme amount of urination, because your body is trying to flush out the high levels of sugar in your blood, because in type 1 diabetes, it's an autoimmune disease, and your pancreas has basically been, destroyed by your immune system. And you don't have a functioning pancreas that's pumping out the insulin. And so your blood sugars keep rising and rising and rising, 200s, 300s, 400s, 500s, and it's toxic to the body and it's trying to flush it out. So it's giving you biological signals to drink. So you're drinking. Of course, you're peeing. And she had none of that. And that would be the only thing that would make sense. But my point is if it would have come back and confirmed that, then we would have dealt with it and moved along. But the point is, be your own advocate. It's wonderful. I just love being part of a community. I'm grateful that, we learned about HealthPointe. It's led us to all of these wonderful outcomes, including, kind of questioning a result that came in. And so with that, I'll wrap on that point. If anybody has any other comments, we'll give a moment for that. But if not, we'll kind of do a 3, 2, 1 and do a happy Saturday sign off here from Texas. And,
hey, Eric, I want to say one thing before you sign off. This will be real quick. It won't take long. It's
sure.
Just, one thing that you can do is find a picture of the image of the person that you like to be when you get to where you want to be. And if you can find one that, that looks like you, and you can cut your picture out and put it on the body and look at it every day, kind of as a visual to where you want to go, sometimes that can be very helpful too.
I love that. So you're to kind of increase that change your story, change your life type of imagery. Maybe have that as a screenshot on your phone, or we talk about pictures on refrigerators or pictures on your bathroom mirror, that kind of thing, Larry?
Yep, just a picture of the body image that you aspire to have.
Right on. Great stuff. Appreciate that very much. Anybody else before we sign off here? Thank you, Larry. Anybody else? All right. Well, guys, again, this has been amazing. Thank you so much for everyone. Love hearing from the new people. Such great perspectives, such great stuff. And the veterans as well. Love hearing from everyone. We'll get this recording cleaned up a little bit and out on the Voices of HealthPointe YouTube channel. And guys, until next Saturday, same time, same place, signing off from Texas for now. Have a great rest of your Saturday.
All right, Eric. Thank you very much. Have a safe trip.
You bet. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.